Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and wherever you are watching in.
Hello, hello, hello.
What's
Welcome,
up, what's up?
everybody.
Assalamualaikum, selamat datang ke One Silat Championship yang berlangsung sempena Festival Belia Putrajaya 2015.
Woo-hoo. Give yourself a big round of applause. The performance just now was amazing, wasn't it?
Yes.
Where are they from? Very intense Silat performance. It was from Seni Gayong, was it? Seni Gayong Festi Malaysia. And so give them another big round of applause, guys. It was a great performance.
Dan sekarang ini kita berada di zon aktif Dataran Gemilang Persin 4 Putrajaya. Saya Radin dan saya ditemani malam ini bersama seorang gadis cantik manis.
You're too sweet, Radin. My name is Lalita and I'm here today. So excited to be part of this One Silat Festival. We've got fighters from all over the world, from all corners of the world, from the Southeast Asian region. We've got Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore. We've also got fighters all the way from Germany, from Russia, from Australia, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and more.
Wow,
Woo,
kesemuanya
what a
kita
talent.
ada 11 buah negara dan 20 orang pesilat. Untuk makluman anda, One Silat Championship ini dianjurkan oleh Muse Group, disokong oleh Kementerian Belia dan Sukan dan juga Festival Belia Putrajaya. Untuk penyiar rasmi kita ada Astro Arena dan juga radio rasmi Era FM. Dia turut disokong dengan majalah rasmi Majalah Arena.
That's right. I'm just going to repeat that. We've got a big thank you to Muse Group, to KBS and Festival Belia, to Astro Arena, Arena Magazine, as well as Era FM for being our official sponsors and partners.
Jadi untuk malam ini, walaupun kita mulakan lambat sedikit pada jam 7.45 malam, tapi dengan ini saya berbangganya ingin memberitahu anda di mana ini adalah kali pertama ataupun julung-julung kalinya diadakan di dunia One Silat Championship.
That's right. We all know that Silat has its roots in traditional Malay history and culture, but today here the organizers are organizing this with a vision to not replace the traditional Silat Tanding and Silat Olahraga, but we're reinventing it and putting a spin to it to bring it further into the international stage.
Betul tu Lalita. Dan untuk makluman anda, silat telah lama bertapak sehingga sekarang ini 1,600 tahun yang berasal daripada Kepulauan Melayu dan juga Nusantara. Dan di Malaysia kita ada 464 jenis silat. Namun di dunia ataupun di Nusantara kita ada lebih 4,000 jenis silat.
Ooh, that's over 4,000
Yes,
different types of
that's right,
Silat
Lalita.
in the world. And we have about, 4 million registered participants or practitioners of the Silat art form in the world. So definitely a popular sport that needs no introduction. But here today, we're coming with a different vision with One Silat Championship. It's a bit different.
Jadi kejohanan malam ini akan dipecahkan kepada 3 set. Satu set selama 3 minit dan direhatkan selama 1 minit. Kita ada 10 pertarungan. Dan tanpa buang masa, ingin saya ingatkan sekali lagi kepada anda, kita mulakan untuk pertarungan pertama.
Alright, so without further ado, let's introduce our fighters. From the black corner, we present to you, all the way from Kazakhstan, it is Keldi NURASSYL.
So here he is, our first fighter. Just a big shout out to the performers that came on with that wonderful traditional performance of Silat there, Anthony.
Well, it was a wonderful performance, and it actually really showcased exactly what the martial art really was in its early days. But of course, right now we've made it to a sport, so
Yeah.
they've done away with the blade, obviously.
As Anthony was saying just before that performance, Silat is one of the oldest martial arts in existence, and in this area of the world, Southeast Asia, wherever you might be watching it around the world, in this area it is over 1,500 years old and became the principal martial art, which a lot of Filipino Kali, for example, a lot of these other martial arts sprung from it, using Indian and Chinese martial arts right from the Sanskrit era.
Exactly,
Anthony.
even Eskrima is a part of that. And at the same time, you know, going back to the time when the Americans were actually taking over the Philippines, a lot of times the American soldiers used to wear leathernecks. That's where the term leathernecks came out. Because
Right.
what used to happen was the locals would slash their throats using the
Right.
martial
Yeah.
art, and so
Yeah.
that's why they had to wear those leather collars.
Well, as we're watching our first fighter here, as you just heard, our on-ground host, Lalita and Radin, introduced from Kazakhstan, fighting. He's 19 years old, NURASSYL. And he's actually been a recent addition to One Silat. It was Omer Jalal from Yemen who had to pull out because of a sustained injury in training. And you're right, we did see in that opening performance some use of weaponry as well. I think just to bring back the fact that it is Malay heritage, it's Malay culture that is on show here. One Silat, as was explained by Lalita and Radin, is not here to eclipse some of the other forms of Silat. There's so many, there's hundreds of forms of Silat in Malaysia. But Olahraga and Tanding are used by the World Silat Championships. This is almost the premier level of Silat when it comes down to it.
Plain and simply put, they're trying to take it to the next level because, you know, there are actually over hundreds of different groups that are doing Silat.
That's right.
But, you know, this One Silat Championship can actually bring all those groups together because you've got to have something at the top of the pyramid.
That's right, that's right. And so what they have done here is taken the usual 7-meter circle that is so used to Silat Championships, and as you can see here, as Eskeldi walks into the new ring, this is the One Silat ring. That yellow area in front of him is the out-of-bounds area. The black line is the last line of defense, essentially. But that's a 7-meter circle that he'll be fighting in. And his opponent today, one of the 3 Indonesian fighters on the 20 fighters list that's on the fight card, Andi Prima Rosita, aka The Shadow.
And there you can see a champion in so many competitions the past year, so obviously looking to have a great start here for the year 2015 as far as his fighting is concerned.
Now, as we said, one of 3 Indonesian fighters. You can see there, Wushu, Sanda Medan, 24 champion, kickboxing 24 champion as well. So a little bit of Wushu and kickboxing into the mix as well for him. A lot of people were expecting a lot more Indonesian fighters to turn up for One Silat because, of course, Silat in its history and its tradition started off not just on the Malaysian peninsula, but in Indonesia as well. Now we'll have to see whether he, along with Alwin and the other Indonesian fighter, let's get to all of them now, and Awan, and they're coming up in fights number 5 and 6. 10 fights on the card for tonight. There'll be a little break after the first couple. But a lot of people have turned up here in the active zone of Putrajaya to watch this, simply because this could be the start of something new in mixed martial arts.
Not just something new, but something very, very big.
Something very big. I think that's to bring that in. We were just before we went on air. Anthony and I were talking about MMA in Asia. Now you were saying there's UFC at the top. That's kind of the biggest game. One championship is the biggest game after that in Asia.
Yes, and it's regarded as one of the most exciting. But you know, this Silat is really trying to take it to another level because here they're going to try to do away with grappling. You know, when you have fighters on the ground, you can only try to submit your opponent within 10 seconds, and then after that, you're back up on the stand-up.
And there you can see another part of the tradition of Silat, the Tajak being given. A headscarf, as you can see here, the tail of the tape, 170 centimeters, 160 centimeters. Does height make a difference when it comes to Silat, Anthony, do you think?
Well, yes, it does, obviously, because, you know, it's much easier to be punching down than it would be punching up.
Right, yeah.
And at the same time, chances are, if you're taller, you should have a slight reach advantage.
A slight reach advantage. That's not on there. As you can see, the Kazakh fighters come in 3 kilos heavier. Now, both of them are going to have to deal with some slippery conditions in this first ever matchup. Now, before they start, the 8 steps of Silat, which each fighter has to show. It's part of the jurus, the forms part of Silat. And it's almost a statement of intent for his opponent.
And Jivan, you're talking about the fact that it's slippery because there is a slight drizzle here.
That's right.
We are, of course, fighting outdoors in a fantastic arena that they've set up.
Usually, these fighters will be used to getting into a gelanggang, the training practice area of Silat, but this is an open area that, as you can tell, it's been set up. And so, Black has performed his 8 steps of Silat. Now we see the white corner. Very much like chess. There's a black corner and a white corner. And like chess, you can see lots of intricate motions, a beginning, a middle, and an end plan for both these fighters.
And
How
again, doing away with the conventional red corner and blue corner in other sports.
A yellow ring and a white corner, black corner. So as Andre, remember AJ Pyro and Meti, his two other referees, 30 years in SILAT. Andre was talking to him yesterday. One last word to the fighters before we get underway. The first ever One SILAT Championship, live streaming on www.onesilat.com. The highlights coming out of Astro Arena. My name's Jeevan Sovanathan, Anthony Sunte next to me in the commentary box as we get underway. Thumbs up everywhere. 3 rounds of 3 minutes, 1 minute interval between each round, and we're off. Touch of the hands. And that's what we were expecting.
And it's got to be action all the way.
Well,
none of these fighters should be practically backing up, and so they should be going forward.
It's not actually part of SILAT to back up. It's moving forward, it's explosive action. So if you are backing up, as a lot of people these days have been saying, doing a Mayweather because of what happened recently. Boxing allows you to do that, allows you to box your way out of situations, whereas SILAT is really about moving as quickly and as explosively towards your opponent. There's
and of course coming forward.
That's right, moving forward, looking for that inside close conflict. You just saw a little bit of the drizzle that Anthony was talking about. Seems to have stopped now, just in time for the fight.
You know, actually our referee Andre is a 3-time world champion, so he knows his stuff in there.
Well, I asked
He's
him
telling the fighters, you've got to fight, or else he might just bring out that yellow card.
That's right. You can get yellow cards and red cards. We'll get through all the intricacies of the rules as we move through the fight card. These two, a lot of nerves on them, simply because they are the first One SILAT fighters. But now we're getting into it.
And the fans really getting into it right now.
Skeldy there trying to move in. Andy just keeping him at bay with the front kick. There's a side kick, and there you go, as a flurry of punches.
That's what we'd like to see.
And I think
solid exchanges.
I think it was just a warming up phase in that early part of the round. Now hitting halfway. And again, just being called into action, which is something you don't usually see.
A lot of other competitions we see, they just go straight at it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that was a clean connection there. And this is all
brief exchange.
Wow.
A little bit of grappling.
All of a sudden, it just exploded into what we were expecting.
Is what everybody has been waiting for. Took them quite a while.
Yeah. Now you can hear some of the crowd getting into it as well. Just in the first 2 minutes and 20 seconds of the One SILAT Championship, we've already seen some explosive action.
1, 2.
And again, our referee Andre doing that count. And the fighters oblige. Eventually, under 30 seconds here in round number 1.
T.
Called there. T, usually shouted by the referees.
Mulai.
And Mulai to restart the action. T to stop. And so, 10-second clapper goes.
It has been a very
interesting
slow start.
Yeah.
I mean, by SILAT standards.
Oh, of course. I think that's expected a little bit from the first two fighters going out. There's been a lot of anticipation as to how it's going to work. Now, we get into the head games. As we look at some of the highlights here, Anthony, any of these fighters really pick it up for you, that there was that flurry in the middle of the round?
Actually, really very difficult to tell who actually got the better of the exchange there, because they were actually trading, and it looked practically even, with a couple of shots to the head and a couple of leg kicks as well.
So we have Andy Prima, Rosita in the white there, taking a bit of a battering from Skeldy Nurassyl.
Well, Nurassyl obviously was able to get off 2 good lefts.
Yep. Found his range.
That's going to make an impression on the judges, that's for sure. But at the same time, remember, going through the rules very briefly, the judges will be scoring this fight in its entirety. And so it's not going to be round per round.
I think that's a very important point that you brought up, that a lot of people expect it to be a points-based system. It's not like that at all. I think one of the reasons why One SILAT has turned up is because of the failures of the point
Round
system.
number 2.
And as we said, doing a Mayweather,
Right.
which we didn't see just then. I know you subscribe to that point of view.
I definitely do. But then, you know, you're playing within the rules once again, and, you know, you're allowed to do that in boxing.
True, that's very
But
true.
here in SILAT, you've got to keep coming forward.
You've got to keep coming forward, and as I said, you've got to keep, really, the difference with SILAT, as opposed to a lot of fixed form martial arts, is it's exactly what you see there. It's very Wing Chun. It's complete motion. The hands are alive, and you're keeping various spaces of your body open and ready for attack. Some you're actually placing there in deception, but
2.
I'm
move
expecting
around.
a more exciting second round here, as both these fighters, I think, has settled down a little bit.
That's our first attempt at a takedown. It's looking good so far. Remember, all 4 limbs, elbows coming out in there.
Well, now he can continuously hit. Why? Because
Because
not all four limbs
limbs are on the ground.
are on the ground. And so, you see, that is one of the strategies that you can have here.
Now, wow, that's definitely fired up Andy.
Lanka.
This is exactly what we expected in round number 1, but now coming to its fruition here in round number 2.
And you have to put, I mean, as we said, it's a very intricate scoring process for the judges, but Skeldy definitely has been moving forward a lot more.
T.
He called as moves out of the ring.
And again, he gets warned here by a referee, Andre, saying, you've got to come forward. That's exactly what
Yeah.
SILAT is all about.
That's why you moved into the ring. That's why you had to
1 Lanka.
come out of it. And there's, again, you can see the call to action for both fighters. And Andy, as you'd expect, being a little bit more standoffish after the beating he took just now on the floor. And just to point out what Anthony was saying, had Andy had all of his limbs on the ground, on his back, then Skeldy would have only been allowed 1 punch or 1 kick. But because he didn't, he had his front part of his body up. It led to a situation where it was constant elbows and punches to the head.
And sometimes one part of the strategy is actually you try to lock one of the limbs and you
Yeah.
keep it up. Because
Yeah.
once you keep it up, then you can actually continue to pound him on the
That's
ground.
right, that's right. You're essentially evading the law.
Exactly.
And that's what fighting is all about. So 42 seconds, 40 seconds left now in the second round. They've held off a little bit, but still keeping tabs with the big kicks. As you can see, Skeldy's just trying to find his range. And the other difference, of course, between One SILAT, which you can see quite clearly, is no protective bodyguards, torso guards, no head guards like in Taekwondo. It's just basically the gloves and the mouthpiece. And groin guard. Oh, well,
that is a great right.
That was
2 rights.
That was amazing stuff.
Lanka.
2 clear rights there.
Definitely. And
Heavy rights as well.
he must be leading right now as far as the scorecards of the judges are concerned.
Now, as we said, as one of the round ambassadors, I think they're called these days in ring sports, round ambassadors. Round to us last week. Look at that. Look at this action here in the ring. Every time Andy comes forward, Skeldy has something waiting for him. And there you can see continuous sidearms. He's just breaking them down. And that could not have been fun for Andy Prima Rosita.
Couple of crisp elbows to the forehead, as you can see there.
Yeah.
That one just grazing him.
And now, when he came up from that, this was the all-out explosion. And that's what seems to happen a lot in SILAT. I think we're beginning to see it in the ring now. If you do launch an attack, you've pretty much taken into account the position you're in, first of all, and you know your weaknesses as well. So it could literally be you're moving forward, you're still getting hit in those places, but you're playing for your strategy.
Well, you'd want to be able to at least get in the better shots, so to speak.
Yeah.
And if you feel that you do have the better and stronger punch, then you feel you can knock him out. You know, you might be able to take one, but give him a stronger one and get him out of there.
That might be Andy's only way out of this match now. I said we aren't judges, and they are scored a little bit differently now. In terms of aggression and moving forward and your takedowns, it used to be 1 point for a punch, 2 points for a kick, and 3 for a takedown, but not points anymore. It's individually appraised by the 3 judges that are sitting, actually 5 judges that are sitting off on our right. And they, I think, definitely would have scored the aggression of the Kazakh fighter a lot more. So it looks like it's going to be knockout or nothing for Andy. So they just size each other up. Minute gone in the third.
Which is very surprising once again, because, you know, I expect a lot of action. This is the kind of action we're looking for.
That was a great little exchange. Just have to say, a bit of movement from Skeldy was great there. He was just pivoting off that front foot.
We have to say also, referee Andre doing a very good job of making sure that the action is what the fans expect.
Well, I was talking to him yesterday. I said, if you did get a pair of fighters tomorrow that weren't playing ball, what were you going to do? And his exact words were, we are stronger than the fighters and we'll make sure that they are fighting. So I think that just about summed it up.
Now the action is slowed down a little bit once again.
Well, I think Skeldy knows, as he just saw from that body feint, that might be ahead.
1, 2.
And again, they continue to size each other up, and our referee continuing to start to count once again.
Well, it's definitely, oh, another good exchange.
That's a great exchange there, a good right by the gentleman from Kazakhstan.
Wow, as you can see, he's trying to hook him with the legs. Didn't quite work out. He's now staying well out of reach of those gloves because they've been landing on his face.
I'm very surprised none of these fighters have actually gone to the scissors attack.
Yeah, the scissor takedown.
Okay, fight.
Possibly because of the drizzle on the mat. You never know. It's a dangerous thing to go for. Skeldy there looking for another takedown, get him on. And he's now got a little bit of a red patch underneath his eye. So Andy has got through to him. Whereas Andy, on the other hand, well, as you can see from his forehead.
Final 10 seconds of this battle.
So Andy needs a knockout. He's going all out. Not going to work for him. So our first fight on the fight card done and over. And it looks like it's going to be a good win for the Kazakhstani fighter Skeldy Nurassyl. We'll see now. The scorecards are being collated by those judges. There's a flurry of activity at the judges' bench right now. They'll get down exactly what's going to happen. But Anthony, in your mind, definitely it was Skeldy coming through with more aggression, moving forward, definitely more connecting, more punches as well.
Yeah, that's also what I saw. But then, you know, at the same time, you know, where we're sitting could be very different from where our 3 judges are sitting at as well.
That's right.
And so it really depends on the crisper blows that are seen clearly by the judges. Because remember, we're sitting at a different angle from the other 3.
Yeah.
When we look at, there's an element of almost showmanship. We look at the fantastic lighting, we look at the extravagant sound system. The stage, the arena is custom made to give you, the viewers, and the fans, optimal viewing of the fight. So in that sense, there's an artistic element to it.
So now as the ushers are into the ring, just drawing it up for the next 2 fighters that will be coming along. Just a quick look ahead. There is an all-Malaysian affair. That's up next in the atomweight division, women's class, atomweight class women's division. Audrey Lara versus Nur Shakina. That's up next. Coming up later on, the main event, of course, is going to be Iranian champion Mehdi Jamalian against the Malaysian champion Mohammed Hasrul. That's fight number 10. But before that, the other 18 nations will be making an appearance. We said 3 Indonesian fighters are through. Now, Andy seems to be pacing the ring, and
I think so. I think he's a little bit worried.
yeah, he's a little bit worried as to. But look at the devastation on his face just from 3 rounds.
And that just goes to show you what a furious battle these 2 just went through. And it's a very good opening bout here.
That wasn't the most clinical of SILAT that we've seen, as expected from that being the first fight. But as you can see from NURASSYLvsANDIPRIMA Rosita's face, it is now just swelling up. When he was down on the ground and taking those elbows, he definitely felt it.
There's also elements of different styles of fighting that we can incorporate here to these one SILAT championship, and that's why it's so
As you said, perfectly ref by Andre Mewis.
You know, the crowd that we have here is starting to swell here.
Yeah. I think they've finally seen that you know, there's been a lot of talk, obviously, in the press in the lead up to this as to how different one SILAT would be. And really, after a lot of people I talk to, you wouldn't know unless you've actually seen it, unless you've actually been there and watched a couple of fights.
That's an excellent point.
We've already seen what the lack of protection will do. We've already seen, well, we didn't really get the grappling rules down, but it was continuous action. All right, the
fight number 1 from the black corner, from Kazakhstan.
well, as we thought,
He did have the crisper blows. He was the aggressor.
he did indeed, and that's what pays in SILAT. As we said, it's all about moving forward. It's all about taking out your opponent. So running away is really not a part of the game. And one thing he didn't do, there was a couple of occasions where he was pulled back a little bit, but under strict guidance from the ref, he was pulled back. And I think it's those combinations he laid, especially the rights, which came out, which made the difference.
It wasn't really the most impressive of performances, but as far as he's concerned, he's happy to go home with a W, and at the same time,
Exactly.
you know, it's not easy, and we talked about it, to be opening this 10-fight card that we have here today.
Man, not just the fight and the event, but the championship. There are 5 challenge days in the opening year of one SILAT. The other 5 will be happening throughout the year and the latter half of it. But it's a scary thing as our VIPs get in the ring and give him his medal and, of course, prize money as well.
And we're going to be seeing that all throughout the night. We have so many very important people
Yes,
that
we
have
do
made
indeed.
their way here.
All from the various SILAT institutions. They've all turned up because, of course, this is, as Anthony said, the most important night for SILAT, really. It's one of these, we were talking earlier about how, as we just look at Skeldy with our first winner at one SILAT,